Okay, so step 2, so looking to incorporate some macro oscillators from the Audible Instruments range and starting to build a track. So VCV rack comes with a bunch of stuff from Audible Instruments, which is from a fab modular designer called Olivier that designs these excellent modules called mutable instruments. They're really expensive, but they really are fab, and he's one of the leading Eurorack modular designers. So fortunately for us, they come with emulations from GitHub. They've basically rebuilt all of the modules, and they're available for VCV racks. So to try, so fab, great. So let's have a look at them. If you scroll down to the Audible Instruments range, click on there, there's a whole bunch of different ones to try, and I totally recommend trying the texture synthesizer, which is a granular synthesizer. But let's look at the macro oscillator to begin with. So by dropping that in, if we we could swap this out and just route our voltage per octave and our gate triggers into here, and then our output into our outputs. Get rid of that a second. You can see it's permanently on as before. So if we route our gate output from our envelope to output trig, let's go into oscillator B, our gate from our keyboard, from our envelope, and then our output into our sound card, and our gate output into our exponential. There we go. Okay, so you can flick through. There's a whole bunch of different stuff in here, which they really are fab. Lots of different synthesis modes, from FM to physical modeling, subtractive, vowel synthesis, female to male, some drum sounds, wavetables, noise, etc. Anyway, I'll let you have a look through those. The wavetables are really, really fab. So let's just use a kick and let's start to build just a bit of a rhythm track. Okay, so just reroute that back into where we were before for our synth. And if we just use the trigger input on the kick, we can use a sequencer to kind of sequence this stuff. So going back to our fundamental core series, if you hit on the sequencer 3, it will bring up a sequencer which has an internal clock. You can feed this a clock signal from anything that will do a clock. For example, Ableton Live, you can use a module to just link this to Ableton, and you can route the gate outputs into the trigger, and it will start to go dependent on what tempo you set the thing at. And if you want it to stop and start, just click run. And if you want it to start from the beginning, just hit reset and it will recycle over here. So we probably need a mixer now as well, because we're going to get a few more different audio signals. So by going back into the fundamental and loading a mixer, you can start to route these. So let's take our synth out that we were using earlier and just route that into input 1. And we'll route our output into mix 1. And then we'll route our kick drum into input 2. Okay, you see there's a kick. I'm just going to put that so they just trigger on the downbeat. Bring that down in pitch a little. And let's select the mix output so it's coming out both speakers. Okay, cool. So obviously you can select anything you wanted to in here. Could be a synth, could be a kick. Let's just get a small rhythm track going. So I'm just going to use another macro oscillator and route the same trigger to, I'll put it out of the output of this particular one here, so maybe it'll just be just a snare then. That'll happen. Okay, cool. Speed it up a bit. All your hard heads. Okay. Nice basic snare. Let's look at some different chords that we could do perhaps. So it's a bit basic, the sound that we've got there. So looking to thicken this sound up, we'll probably at this point start to expand with some different VCOs and just try and layer this sound up a little bit more. So let's add another VCO in. And what I'm going to use for this, in the fundamental series, there's one called octave. And if you route your CV into the input of the octave, you can just switch it up so it just goes up an octave or down an octave. So quite an easy way of just layering up VCOs. And I'm just going to route the VCO of that. So my keyboard is playing one at one particular pitch and then one going into the octaver and just an octave above. So I'll route this, I'll try a square for this one. So the square output of the oscillator I'm going to route into the input of the VCA. Remember, this is a 2-channel VCA, so it's perfect. And the gate output that we've done, which is controlling my key presses over time, I'm just going to route to the exponential. So this is now effectively doing this as I press the keyboard based on the envelope settings. And I'm going to route that output into here. There you go, so you start to hear some stuff. That's a little bit better and thicker. So now, dependent on how I set my envelope, just whacking my sustain up, a little bit of attack to give me a bit of an emphasis on some more type of string-based sounds, and then I can expand on this however I like, really. So drums sounding a little bit dry. If you go into your settings and start to look for some different effects to contextualize it, pop some delays in there. Very easy, just routing the delays from in to and back to out, dependent on whatever signal you wanted to incorporate it into. And start to explore some of these different aspects of sound that modules that are available. If you go into fundamental and jump onto the LFO, LFO is self-oscillating, a low frequency oscillator, normal standard stuff. You can route that to anywhere in your module and start to create some